The question that I get as a result of this is, what are we going to do? My position is the sheriff's office will keep doing what we've been doing by answering calls for service, taking care of our responsibilities to address criminal issues. However, we will not be enforcing any stay-at-home orders. However, we were told by the governor's office today, the Office of Emergency Services, is they will continue to use state law enforcement agencies to enforce these orders.
The governor mentioned there was some type of threat that if some counties didn't enforce these stay-at-home orders, money would be redirected from certain areas. Is there any concern from your department when it comes to this?
We certainly haven't been noticed that any money is going to be withheld as a result of non-enforcement. I will say that in Fresno County, what we've done, the leadership in the county, encouraging people to do the right thing, to wear masks, to socially distance, to wash your hands frequently. And so we are encouraging voluntary compliance with that. I do not believe that we should be using our law enforcement resources when we really are busy with calls for service out there with criminal activity. And if I showed anybody a list of what assignments and what cases our deputy sheriffs were working, they would be pretty hard pressed to decide which one should stop what they're doing to go enforce these COVID rules.
Is there any situation or scenario that you guys see you guys might change your opinion?
What I can see happening is if there's any kind of disturbance, for instance, if there are disagreements out there that result in a disturbance, a fight, physical altercations, of course, we're going to respond to those, but not to enforce the COVID rules, but to enforce any kind of violence that might be taking place.
There wasn't really an expectation of the governor for you guys to enforce last time around, the last orders that he issued. So is there an expectation under your understanding that he is expecting you guys to enforce this one?
No, that was not articulated in our call today with the director of OES. That was not passed on to us at all, that was an expectation the governor had.
I'm wondering if you had spoken at all with other sheriff's offices in neighboring counties to know if they have the same position on this?
No sheriff on the call expressed any interest in enforcing these COVID orders. So especially when, for instance, local DAs have refused to file charges as well. So it's going to be an interesting scenario if the governor does try to force us to take any kind of enforcement action, because again, with our limited resources, we have to prioritize what we do. And again, it comes to trusting our public to do the right thing. And I think that's where we need to really focus, is urge the public to make wise decisions as they go about our business.
Is there any idea who are the state agencies that would be enforcing these orders? Do you know?
Yet specifically mentioned was alcohol beverage control, ABC. So that was the specific agency named today. However, they added other state law enforcement agencies. And there are many state agencies that have law enforcement. Fish and Wildlife have enforcement officers. The Department of Motor Vehicles have law enforcement officers. So the Department of Justice have law enforcement officers. So there are many available resources from the state should they choose to use them to enforce these orders that are available to them. I don't believe that it's going to be very effective if you don't have things lined up before you have the orders to actually enforce them. So any state law, any local ordinance, any order from the governor, the expectation is that it's going to be enforced. And it's always a question when we have state laws passed or a local ordinance from our board of supervisors. If you make the rule, so then who's going to be responsible for enforcement? And these conversations really need to take place and be thought out prior to these being effective. We are really, again, have our hands full with enforcing the laws that I think our public expects us to enforce. This issue is very, very divisive. I think we need to say that out loud as well. That our communities are very divisive on, what we should be doing. I think it's interesting that many people who aren't happy with my choice not to enforce are the same people that are saying defund the police, and it's incongruent. And I just have to make the best call that I can as sheriff and where we prioritize our resources.